Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Steelers, just another person in our way on path to Super Bowl, Ravens say. The Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens will square off for the fifth time in the playoffs on Saturday. The Steelers won the first 3 games, but the Ravens won the most recent. And yet, this will be the first time the Ravens are on hosting duties for the Steelers. While that means something to them, Baltimore is just looking to get to the next stage. The Steelers, said Ravens DL Namdi Madubike, are just another person in our way, the team in our way to get to where we want to get to, via the team's website. And that's why we're out there practicing and working hard and doing everything we can to be our best self on Saturday. Chalk it up to the Ravens' version of the Steelers' nameless, gray faces, as that's all this is. Of course Steelers-Ravens games mean something, but what really matters is the Super Bowl. The spoils of victory over your rival have higher stakes in the postseason. Which is why the Ravens are happy to have any advantage they can get. Each and every day, we go out on the field, in hopes to hoist the Lombardi trophy, but at the end of the day, it starts one game at a time, and it starts at the bank, Saturday versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ravens ILB Roquan Smith. For Smith, this is his 3rd postseason in 3 years with the Ravens, but he only has 1 win. He knows from that perspective alone how big a Ravens win over the Steelers would be this weekend. It brings them another step closer to their goal, one of many steps. You just have to take it one game at a time, knowing that last year didn't end the way we wanted, so just using that as fuel, he said, referring to the Ravens' loss in the AFC Championship last season. But, you can't jump right back to the AFC Championship game, because it's a damn good Pittsburgh Steelers team that's coming in here, and we have to take care of business at the end of the day. While the Steelers only have 3 playoffs wins since 2011, the Ravens are no better. Since winning the Super Bowl in 2012, the Ravens are 3-6. And they are 2-6 since their loss in the 2014 divisional round, preceded by a win over the Steelers. Despite being 2 of the most admired franchises, neither the Steelers nor Ravens have much in the way of tangible achievements to show for themselves for the better part of a decade or more. Both have exactly 3 playoff wins and 1 conference finals appearance in the past decade. The Ravens have won twice since the Steelers' last win. They are even likely to win on Saturday, if prevailing wisdom is worth anything. But the Steelers and Ravens still have to play the game. As Pittsburgh has found out all too often, anything can happen in the playoffs. Baltimore, for that matter, has lost matches in which they were favored. Only one of these underperformers, however, can advance this weekend, and at the expense of the other. So who will be the nameless, gray face watching from the coach the weekend after next? Steelers' playoff journey is a final audition for an inconsistent George Pickens. The Pittsburgh Steelers are at a crossroads with wide receiver George Pickens heading into the 2025 season. The team has to decide whether to continue investing in a young player with immense talent but troubling inconsistencies or to look for opportunities to move him for trade capital. With the Steelers' offensive struggles well documented over the past few seasons, Pickens' future has become a focal point for Mike Tomlin and general manager Omar Khan. Pickens, a 2nd-round pick in 2022, possesses the physical attributes of a dynamic playmaker. His athleticism, combined with a rare ability to stretch the field, makes him a dangerous deep threat. In 2024, the Steelers' top wide receiver finished the regular season with 900 yards and 3 touchdowns. Pickens demonstrated flashes of his potential throughout the year, making big catches that showcased his ability to dominate in contested situations. However, his performance was inconsistent, leaving questions about his focus and commitment. The most glaring issue was Pickens' inability to stay engaged during the critical stretch of the season. His absence in key moments, especially during the final weeks, raised red flags. In Week 18, Pickens was targeted 6 times but finished the game with only 1 reception for 0 yards. That outing was part of a larger trend. Pickens failed to record 75 receiving yards since November 17, and his lack of production and apparent lack of focus on the field has frustrated both coaches and fans. Now his wild card performance feels like an audition for his future. The Steelers' offensive woes have been an ongoing narrative. For several years, the team has followed a familiar cycle, a strong start to the season, followed by a collapse towards the end that results in poor playoff seeding. Tomlin's staff continues to face the same questions about their offensive identity, and Pickens' inability to break through consistently adds to the headache. With the team struggling to develop offensive chemistry, continuing to invest in a young receiver who hasn't met his potential is becoming more questionable. Given the team's positioning in the upcoming draft, it seems unlikely they'll have an opportunity to select a first-round wide receiver, making the idea of trading Pickens a viable option. The Steelers could potentially acquire valuable assets for the young receiver, using him as trade collateral to address other areas of need. While Pickens still has the potential to be a key piece of Pittsburgh's future, his development needs to be more consistent, and the Steelers can't afford to wait much longer to see results. Ultimately, if the Steelers choose to keep George Pickens, they must see a major turnaround. His talent is undeniable, but he must become more reliable and focused on the field. He must make his case in the playoffs, where big plays will be necessary for a deep run. The next few weeks are critical for Pickens to prove that he can be a cornerstone of Pittsburgh's offense, or a trade asset that will help fuel the team's future success. Pittsburgh Steelers projected to replace Najee Harris with this star running back. The Pittsburgh Steelers will have some tough decisions to make this offseason. It is expected that one of those will be letting former first-round pick Najee Harris walk and go to another team. So, where does that leave the Steelers at the running back position? Jaylen Warren should be back, as he is only a restricted free agent. Yet, the team could very well be looking at the draft for a player. Could that come in the first round again, though? In Bleacher Report's latest mock draft, they projected the Steelers to draft Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty. It would be some serious star power and a home run hitter to the running back room alongside Warren, though the team does have other needs. Jeanty might be a case where he is simply too good to pass up, and if that is how the board falls, the Steelers might have to draft him based on value. The Steelers' brand is built on a tough ground-and-pound rushing attack complemented by a ferocious defense. While the game has changed over the years and Ben Roethlisberger's career redirected the franchise's trajectory, a back-to-basics approach will allow Pittsburgh to compete for years to come in an always competitive AFC North. Boise State's Ashton Jeanty is a workhorse capable of being the offensive focal point, they wrote. Jeanty just wrapped up one of the best seasons for a running back in college football history. He finished second all-time in rushing yards in a season only behind Barry Sanders and helped carry the Broncos to a college football playoff berth. The Steelers have other needs like cornerback, wide receiver, and defensive line, but if the value is there with someone like Jeanty at a more minor need, they might take a swing on the talent. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Ashton Jeanty? Leave your opinion in the comments.